Okay, here is another common application of finding the maximum or minimum. Here's a situation, let's say you are at town A. Town A, it's in the middle of the desert. It's desert. However, there is a road that leaves town A. You want to get to area B or town B. Maybe there's an oasis. And you have to travel through the desert somehow. So you want to know, which route should I take to get to B? Okay, certainly the shortest route is directly across from A to B. But then you'll be traveling all through the desert. Now you could take the longest route. The longest route is across the road. And then once you reach right opposite B, you come across the desert. But you'll be traveling 70 miles. That's the longest route. And you may have different speeds that you travel on the road and on the desert. Okay, so let's set up an equation for the distance from A to B. Some of it will be on the road and some of it will be through the desert. So first of all, let's say you were traveling on A and you travel X amount. So you travel on A X amount, and at some point you're going to cut across and go to B. Now if X is 0, of course, you're going straight from A to B across the desert, and if X were 50, you're going across the road right up to opposite B, and then you're coming 20 miles to B. Okay, so X could be variable. X is the variable. So the total distance you're going to travel is the distance on the road and the distance across the desert. Okay, so the total distance is going to be distance on road plus distance on desert. Okay. We know the distance on the road is X. We just said so. But what is the distance across the desert? Well, it depends on X. If we look carefully at this, we actually have a right triangle here. And the distance across the desert is the hypotenuse of that right triangle. So, how do we figure out what the hypotenuse is? Well, we know one side is 20, right here, coming across the desert directly from the place opposite B. But what is this distance? This distance here is going to be 50 minus how much you travel on the road. So this distance here is 50 minus X. So seeing that this is the hypotenuse of this triangle, this distance here is going to be the square root of this squared plus this squared. In other words, the distance across the desert will be the square root of 50 minus X squared plus 20 squared. And so this is an equation for the total distance traveled. If X is 0, then we could see the distance from A to B is going to be the square root of 50 squared plus 20 squared, directly from A to B. If X is 50, that means you're traveling 50 miles on the road and then 20 miles on B. So the total distance would be 50 plus 20, which is 70. However, in many questions, you may have different speeds on road and on desert, and you may want to know the minimum time to get across here. Or another question may be you're laying a cable, and you may have different costs laying a cable on the road and across the desert. And you may want to know the minimum cost. So you would use this type of formula to find that.